Thank you so much for being here as we celebrate the second year anniversary of reform with respect to selling wine in Pennsylvania. Folks, as you know, Pennsylvania has a state store system, and it's antiquated. Customers want additional convenience. Further, we think that the private sector, like this beautiful Weiss Markets here in Enola, Pennsylvania, actually does a better job in getting product to the customers, to the citizens of Pennsylvania. Now, we did full privatization, as you know, in the House of Representatives on 4 occasions. And we actually got a bill that would have transitioned us out of state stores and allowed wine and spirits to be sold by the private sector, as it is in almost every other state in the United States. Now, the governor vetoed that bill. So what we did is we did a compromise that with the Senate, really, and boxed the governor in, and we came up with a way to start allowing wine to get into private sector grocery stores, the ones where we go and buy our bread and cheese and meats, so that when you're coming to the store, you can pick up a bottle of wine, actually up to 4 bottles of wine, at the same time, for convenience, and because it makes sense, and because it's the way it works in other commonwealths and states. Today, we have Dennis Curtin with us, Director of Public Relations from Weiss Markets, whose store we're in right now. And I'm going to cover some more facts, but I think it's important to start off with Dennis to tell us exactly how it's working right now in the stores he works for, Weiss Markets, and to tell us where they think it can go if we make further changes. So the first thing we're doing is we're celebrating the 2nd anniversary. We think it's been a big success. Look behind us here at Weiss Markets. And secondly, then we're going to talk about where we think we can go. And I'm going to turn it over right now to Dennis Curtin, the Director of Public Relations at Weiss Markets. Dennis, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At Weiss Markets, we now operate 61 in-store cafes where beer and wine are sold. The things that we've heard from the get-go when we started in this process, we've heard from our customers who like the convenience and who appreciate the selection. This has been, as the Speaker will no doubt tell you, it's been a customer-driven process. Over the past year, we've opened up a couple of cafes, one in Ole, Pennsylvania, another in East Berlin, where there isn't a PLCB location within 10 to 12 miles of those communities. We see tremendous demand in those stores. This is something that complements our food, and we've been able to do it in a way where we offer the convenience and the selection, and we've been doing it responsibly. We understand that this is a process, and from where we were in 2006 when we opened our first cafe where beer is sold to today, we've come a long way. And one of the things that we appreciate is Speaker Turzai's commitment to this process and the understanding that you keep going. You know, you get one thing, you go for your next goal. And today we're here to celebrate what happened 2 years ago, which was a really good thing for our business, but most importantly our customers. And we'd like to see continued progress, particularly on the pricing issue. But regardless of where we go from here, we're here to celebrate and acknowledge the Speaker and his team's achievement in terms of permitting the sale of wine in cafes like the one behind you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Dennis, if I could, just before you step away, you said that when we were talking, that you have some stores that are located a pretty far distance from LCB stores, the state stores. And tell us about the activity that you see in those stores that are not located right next to an LCB.
What we see is in East Berlin, PA, and Ole, the PLCB outlet, closest one, is maybe 10 to 12 miles away. We see increased demand. What you see in food retail today, in a myriad of ways, is the demand for convenience. And if there isn't an outlet where you can buy wine from the PLCB and there's a supermarket with a good cafe, they'll go to the supermarket. And as a result, we have increased the variety in those stores where we see the demand, and they're some of the best stores we have for selling wine.
Is that right? Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you.
Oops, sorry.
Now, we're in the home district of Representative Greg Rothman, and we also have with us Representative Becky Corbin and Representative Sue Helm. All three of these members were crucial in moving forward really the sale of wine in grocery stores, private markets like this. All of us know of grocery stores in our districts. I'm out in the western suburbs, Giant Eagle, Sheetz, Whole Foods, all offer the sale of wine in their stores. Each of them is going to talk to you about certain facts with respect to the legislation that became law and how it's improved the situation in Pennsylvania, and also where we might be able to take it. I'm going to begin with Representative Greg Rothman, who represents this store right here in Enola, Pennsylvania, Cumberland County. Representative Rothman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and welcome to the 87th District. First of all, I want to thank the Speaker for his leadership on this issue and sort of explain why this is so important to our caucus and to members like me who come from the private sector and realize that there are certain critical things that the government should do, but anything that the private sector can do better than the government, that's the private sector should be doing it. And we see it. We see it with what's going on with Amazon and FedEx and how the private sector has allowed packages to move faster. And when I ran for office the first time, I pointed out that only the state of Utah, other than Pennsylvania, still had an antiquated system that treated the citizens of Pennsylvania that they had to go to certain places to buy their alcohol that was remnants of the Prohibition days or shortly after Prohibition. So Speaker Turzai understands that this is a fundamental issue which for our caucus, when there's a question that's asked, is the answer government does it or the private sector does it. And I believe, and I think the Speaker in our caucus agrees, that the private sector can do things better than government can. In last April, we passed House Bill 975, which would completely divest Pennsylvania from the wholesale of wine and allow private wholesalers to sell wine directly to stores, which would end the LCB's monopoly. There's still work to be done. The Senate is waiting to move that out of committee, and we would urge the Senate to vote on that. This store and many like it have proven that Pennsylvanians don't want their state to be in the wine business. And they have shown that they can buy alcohol and wine and beer responsibly. We also need to move to allow spirits to be able to purchase. It still doesn't make sense to me that you can buy wine and champagne and beer. You ought to be able to buy your whiskey and your gin and your bourbon and your rum also. And we've proven that grocery stores can sell wine responsibly. There's a proposal, I'm a member of the Liquor Control Committee. We have a proposal that would end having to go to two different cash registers. I mean, what difference does it make when you're in a grocery store that you're buying from a cash register that might be, 30, 40 feet away? We owe it to the citizens of Pennsylvania. We know they're adults. We know they're responsible enough to buy their alcohol, and we need to get the state of Pennsylvania out of the liquor business. Since Act 39 became law, we've seen more people choose to buy their wine from private stores rather than the state stores. They are voting with their dollars, and we appreciate that. 11% of LCB wine sales have been to wine expanded permit holders, and we've seen an increase in sales of wine expanded permit holders every year since Act 39. And another thing to point out, Pennsylvania is now home to some great wine producing vineyards and beer, which Trogues Brewery started not far from here, from two brothers who grew up in this district. And it's become a national beer. We have Yuengling and several others, and we as a state know how to produce wine and know how to produce alcohol and know how to produce beer, and our citizens deserve to be able to buy it wherever they want. So I congratulate Speaker Turzai, thank him for his leadership on this issue, and my colleagues, and we thank you for patronizing this store. And I do want to point out, in addition to the beer pub, they also sell ice cream here as well. So get your ice cream and your beer. Thank you.
Representative Sue Helm is from nearby Dauphin County, and Representative Helm.
Thank you. It's so great to be here today. As Speaker Turzai said, I do represent part of Dauphin and part of Lebanon County, but I'm thrilled to be here in Hampton Township, Cumberland County, for this beautiful Wise Market, which I really didn't know was here because I pretty much stay in my district, but when I walked in here, I thought, what a beautiful, beautiful store. So I'm going to ask my constituents to come from Dauphin County and visit over here to see this store and buy some wine. But we look at the measurables after 2 years. Two things became clear. First, the private sector has proven that they are more than capable of selling wine in a safe, responsible manner. Second, Pennsylvanians are showing that they want more consumer convenience through private sector wine and spirit sales. Currently, there are 691 licensed liquor holders who have obtained the additional license to sell wine to go. Of those, 420 are grocery and convenience stores. It is clear that these stores want the ability to provide the convenience to their customers, and we believe more would, if the needed reforms would happen, which we're going to continue to work on. But this is what my constituents are asking for. They're asking to come to a grocery store, buy all the food they need, and pick up their wine so they don't have to leave the store and go to a different place. So with Speaker Turzai's help through these years, we've accomplished this, and we will continue to move on until we have total private liquor privatization. So thank you very much, and come visit this Wise store over here in Hampton Township.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. And a great leader on the sale of wine and spirits in the private sector, Becky Corbin, Representative Becky Corbin, who's really been one of the top leaders on this issue from day one. Becky is from Chester County, and she'll tell you some facts and some points with respect to her district.
Thank you, Speaker Turzai, and thank you, Representative Rothman, for hosting us in your district. You know, when we look at measurables after 2 years, two things become clear. First, the private sector has proven that they are more capable of selling wine in a safe and responsible manner in Pennsylvania than is being sold by the private sector businesses with wine-to-go permits. And the private sector stores are doing it safely, with nearly a perfect safety record. And speaking of safety, many detractors have said that privatization would lead to an increase in DUIs, when in fact 2017 we saw 2,500 less DUIs than in 2016. One of the issues that came up when we were doing liquor privatization was people felt that we were not going to be able to check underage purchases. And I always said, if we have a private business who paid for a liquor license, who paid for a license to sell a product, they are going to be a lot more careful about maintaining that license rather than a state store employee who might get a slap on the hand. And how are we going to take a liquor license away from a state store? It can't happen. I'm very happy to support this issue. I have always been a strong supporter of liquor privatization. When I was first elected in 2012, it was a very big issue. It still is a big issue. But knocking on doors and talking to people, they wanted to know how I felt about it. And my answer always was very simple. The government has no business being in the business of selling retail, wholesale, marketing, enforcing alcohol any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty basic about the whole thing. We started in 2013 with the Speaker's leadership. He's always been a strong proponent of this in 2013 with House Bill 790, and we passed it, and that in my mind was full liquor privatization. We passed it. It was seriously the most exciting vote, even compared to bills of my own that I have taken, and it was an exciting time. We did it. It was the first time that privatization had ever been passed in Pennsylvania, and I was excited to be part of it, and we all have to thank the Speaker for his leadership in that role. Back in Chester County, I have my grocery stores, I have my Wegmans, I have my Giants that participate in this, and it's just a great convenience for all of the people in Pennsylvania. We also have an issue where I am in Chester County with people going across the border to Delaware to buy, and that was an issue that always came up regarding the privatization. But the store obviously has done a beautiful job here, and I'm anxious to see how it works out. Thank you.
Becky, thank you. Sue, thank you. Greg, thank you. In April of last year, we passed some bills the House to further expand the opportunities in the private sector. Now, all of us support full privatization. We voted that way 4 times in the House of Representatives. But at a minimum, Governor, please come out and support fully freeing the wine. Let's get out of the business of at least selling wine and letting Pennsylvanians be able to purchase it at any private sector store that pays the license fees, that puts into place the appropriate checks that all the other stores have done. Yes, we have some 600 stores that have received the licenses, these cafes. But the LCB is holding back the opportunities for other stores who would like to have those applications processed. More stores need to be approved in a timely fashion. Second, why not give all 6,000 plus grocery stores the opportunity to obtain a permit to sell wine? In addition, why do we not let those retailers that are already in it be able to purchase directly from wholesalers? Why do they have to go to the LCB as a wholesaler, which increase the prices that they have to pay and increases the price that consumers have to pay? And let's eliminate any price floor requirements. There's a mandate right now, that was what we did, on what the price could be. Some of the stores would be able to lower those prices, and they don't want this artificial inflation of the cost because it dampens the competition. Those are items that would really, quote unquote, free the wine in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You would have more of these great cafes throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania if we would adopt those common sense changes to move forward. Now, as I said, yes, we would support full privatization, but at a minimum, Governor, let's free the wine. Let's let everybody have the opportunity to be able to purchase wine in grocery stores and in convenience stores in an appropriate, responsible manner across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I want to thank each and every one of you. First of all, Weiss Markets in particular, it's just an honor. Alex Balaja with the Food Merchants Association has been a leader on this issue. We've worked hand in hand with him on this issue, and we continue to press forward. As Mr. Curtin said, it's a process, and we want to keep moving the process forward for Pennsylvania citizens. Thank you so much.